Hello and welcome to this special playoff preview edition of Stuck in the Sin Bin. I'm your host, Luke Owens, and I'm joined alongside Dylan McGlynn. The prodigal son has returned after his long-awaited absence, I guess.
Yeah,
but he's back. And also Matt Watling's here. But instead of jumping into our usual power rankings, we're going to dive into the Eastern Conference playoffs. And let's start with a team we've covered all season long, and the New York Islanders. The Islanders are hosting the Penguins with home ice advantage at the Coliseum. How big is this for a team that has not hosted a playoff series since 1988?
Yeah, and you look at this team, and for the Coliseum, that's where you want it to be.
Right.
You want Game 1 to be at the Coliseum. As you said, hasn't been there since 1988 in Game 1. And it gets so loud. You watch the game. I mean, people were tailgating starting at 3 o'clock for a 7:30 start. This team is what Long Island's all about, and it's just exciting to see them back there.
Yeah, absolutely. And just, I mean, it's going to be one of the hardest places to play in just because the energy in Nassau is just through the roof.
And it would be bad of us to not say that this game is tied 3-3 going into overtime right now. The Penguins tied the game up late going into overtime, but what did you see from both teams, especially the Islanders today, especially down the stretch?
You know, I thought the Islanders looked like they were shot out of a cannon early on. They looked so good. They looked so dynamic, really fast, and they skated with the Penguins. That was the biggest question of the series is this a team that can limit the guys like Crosby, Malkin, and Kessel? And for the most part, they did a pretty good job. You know, Malkin either got a goal or an assist on the power play. I think they called it a goal at first, but looked like Hornquist got a piece of it. Crosby had some moments, but you look at this team, and for the Islanders, the big X factor is a guy like Matt Barzal or Brock Nelson. One of those two guys have got to be a point-per-game player in this series if the Islanders want a chance to win the series.
Yeah, you talked about a guy like Barzal who had 85 points his rookie season, only 62 this year, so he's a guy that could be one that steps up. But I think the biggest X factor for them has got to be Robin Leonard, and he looked really good at times tonight, and it wasn't really his fault. Some of the goals, I actually missed the last one that the Penguins had to tie it up, but I think he's going to be the biggest X factor, as he's been all year long in front of the best defense in the NHL.
Yeah, I mean, he's been phenomenal, and they need him because obviously playing a 7-game series against guys like Malkin and Crosby, that's tough.
Yeah, I mean, Barry Trotz going into the series said, you know, we have to slow down and sit. That's the first thing he said, and I think they did that to a point tonight, but like you said, guys like Malkin are also on that power play unit, which are dangerous.
I think one big thing for the Islanders to take advantage of is the Penguins' defense. You look at their top line, Mata and Letang, very good. Second pair, Jack Johnson and Justin Schultz, not the best. And that third pair is Marcus Pettersson and Eric Gudbranson, neither of which are really anything to call home about. They're not great. Gudbranson was shaken up when he was tripped up by Anders Lee earlier in that third period. But again, you look at that third D pair, and there's not much to really call home about. That's kind of the biggest weakness for this team.
Right, and we'll keep you guys updated on that one. But staying in the Metropolitan Division, the defending champion Washington Capitals will host the first wild card winning Carolina Hurricanes. The Capitals have won all 4 regular season matchups between the two. So what will Carolina have to do in order to capitalize, in order to pull the upset?
I actually kind of like Carolina. I like them coming into this. You know, Holtby hasn't really played that great this year. 9/11 save percentage, which is
decent.
Not anything to write home about, you know. But Mrazek's played really good. I think have the most underrated decor in the league. Carolina. You got Slavin, Pesci, Justin Falk, Dougie Hamilton, guys who don't get respect really on the national level as some of the other guys, but they're right up there and they play really good hockey.
Yeah, and I gotta disagree. I go with the Capitals here in 6, and I look at them. They have much better forward depth. In my opinion, I'm taking Holtby over Mrazek in a playoff series. You know, he hasn't had the best year, but I think overall, when you look at these two goaltenders, if you're picking Mrazek over Holtby, you know, I just trust Holtby a little bit more. And then defensively, I love the Canes. But as you brought up, Trevor Van Riemsdyk on that third defensive pair is really impressive. But for me, I think that the Canes just lack that firepower. They don't have that Ovi or that Backstrom. Yeah, they've got guys like Teuvo Teravainen and Sebastian Aho, but I think that those guys just haven't proven it just yet. I think they're a year away from making a run.
Yeah. I picked the Capitals.
Oh, okay.
He's just saying he likes Carolina.
I think I have this one on upset watch. I could see Carolina winning the series. For sure.
Yeah, and
I think it's definitely closer. Sorry to interrupt you, Luke, but it's definitely closer.
Yeah.
Brind'Amour's done an awesome job though with Carolina this season, and I mean, we talk about the goaltenders. Holtby hasn't been great during the regular season, but he has the third best save percentage in the playoffs of all time coming into the series. So I think that could be big for them. But the Boston Bruins and Toronto Maple Leafs are no strangers to each other. They have met 16 times previously, most recently last year where the Bruins won the series in 7 games. So guys, did the Maple Leafs add enough last offseason to knock off their original 6 rival in a 7-game series?
You know, I look at the Bruins and I say they're so dangerous. Defensively, they're far better than anything the Leafs have. I think if you talk about best defenseman in the series, I think it goes to a guy like Charlie McAvoy. Zdeno Chara's a little bit older, but he's just as good. And I don't think that the Leafs have the talent or the depth that the Bruins have on defense. There's no real significant injuries for the Bruins as well. They've got a lot of guys back. You know, Bergeron was injured for a good portion of the season, as was McAvoy and Chara.
Yeah. I mean, Toronto right now, offensively, their firepower is just through the roof, but defensively is really, really can be troublesome in those lower pairs. You know, Travis Dermott, Nikita Zaitsev, really, Ron Hainsey on that top pair.
Liabilities.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And you talk about Toronto. I mean, Anderson really hasn't had a bad year in net for them, but he's just been faced with so many shots. It comes to a point where, like, what more can he do in the net? And I just think the Bruins are just so strong, and we'll bring up our brackets later, but I think at least me and Matt have a ton of confidence in them going forward just because they're so deep. And you talk about Bergeron, Marchand, Pasternak in that first round, that's ridiculous. But we're going to take a short break here on Stuck in the Sin Bin, and when we come back, we'll be going out west to look at the Western Conference playoffs. You're watching Stuck in the Sin Bin on WTOP 10.
You don't have to wear a uniform for service or sacrifice. Every day, ordinary Americans perform extraordinary acts of courage and selfless service. Please join us in recognizing citizen heroes who have made a difference in the lives of others through their acts of courage and selfless service in communities across America. Nominate a citizen hero today at themedalofhonor.com.
Are you thinking about buying medicine online? A search for online pharmacies yields more than 20 million results. But which ones can you trust? Medicines bought from unlicensed online pharmacies can be dangerous. You may get a fake drug, your condition may get worse, or you may experience a bad reaction. Don't put your health at risk. To learn how to find an online pharmacy that's safe and legal, visit fda.gov/BeSafeRx. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Here at WTOP, we pride ourselves on delivering you all the news you need to know from the day's events.
Whether it's happened on Capitol Hill or right here in Oswego,
We make sure you know all about it. We keep you up to date on all your favorite
Oswego and professional sports.
And our Storm Team 10 meteorologist will make sure that you know exactly what weather you're up against when you start your day.
Every Monday through Thursday night, make sure to tune in to Channel 10.2, because at WTOP, we don't just tell you the news.
We are
the news.
Tightest MC up in this mob. About to set it for you.
And we were experiencing some technical difficulties, but thank you for sticking with us through the break. And now we're going to move to the most dominant team from the regular season, the Tampa Bay Lightning. They will be taking on the Columbus Blue Jackets, who have underperformed a bit after deciding to stay put at the trade deadline. Does Columbus have any shot to knock off the 128-point Lightning? And they're actually up 1-0 in this series.
Yeah, so we wrote all this before the game happened, and again, I have Tampa in 5. It could still happen, but you look at what happened here tonight, and Vasilevsky just kind of forgot to play goalie a little bit down the stretch, and Columbus really took over in the third period. But if I'm a Lightning fan, you have to be worried, but I'm still confident. Because you look at this team, they're far superior in terms of talent. Their defense is a lot better. Goaltending, Bobrovsky is still shaky and still a question mark. So if I'm the Lightning, I'm still confident moving forward. I mean, you're the best team in the NHL, and Bobrovsky wasn't stellar tonight.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't win 62 out of 82 games for no reason. That doesn't happen, that's not a fluke. They're one of the best teams that we've seen in a really long time, and losing tonight doesn't change that. Bobrovsky looked really, really shaky, I thought, despite getting the win.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it. This team is just way too talented to struggle this much, and I think going forward, I mean, Bobrovsky's been historically bad in the playoffs, and he had a good turnaround in the second and third periods tonight. But I mean, you talk about Kucherov, 41 goals, Stamkos, 45, .41, all at 40 goals. That's the first time 3 such players have done that since the 95-96 Pittsburgh Penguins, which is insane.
But that top line tonight in Palat, Stamkos, and Johnson, 0 goals tonight. That's a line that you're expecting at least a goal or 2 from, with Stamkos, Johnson, and Palat. So maybe Coach John Cooper looks to get Kucherov back on that top line with a guy like Stamkos.
Right, and before diving into our Western Conference matchups, last night the NHL draft order was announced. The New Jersey Devils will pick first in the 2019 draft, followed by the New York Rangers. So guys, what does this mean for both of these local franchises?
A lot. I mean, it means a lot for our show, which is nice.
Yeah, that's true.
First
We'll have some exciting guys to talk about.
Yeah, well, for the Devils, presuming that they pick Jack Hughes and go with the consensus number 1, your center depth there is Hughes and Heischer. That's really good.
Yeah, that's dynamic. And just listening to some of the comparisons from the NHL website, they compare Jack Hughes to Jack Eichel and Connor McDavid. I don't really see him being that good, but he's undersized at 5'10", 168. But so is Johnny Gaudreau. He's so talented. He's such a great puck handler. I'm excited to see both these guys in the Metro.
Yeah, the Devils are going to have a nasty top 2 centers going forward.
Yeah.
So it gives us something exciting to talk about. But we will now move out to the wild, wild west, where the standings have been quite a bit tighter than in the East. We start with the 2 hot teams from the Central Division, the Nashville Predators and the Dallas Stars. What do the Stars need to do in order to stay hot and pull a first-round upset?
Well, they need a lot of depth guys to step up, because we talked about the lack of goals. You know, they're third to last in the league in goals scored. They got Jason Dickinson skating on the top line with Tyler Seguin and Alex Radulov. Exactly. And the defense isn't horrible. Ben Bishop's been great all year, so is Khudobin. They just need depth scoring big time.
Yeah, and you look at that second-line center. Roop Hintz has 22 points. As your second-line center, that is insane.
He's
you expect a lot more. Just for comparison, Brock Nelson has 25 goals as the Islanders' second-line center. Clearly, he's a much better player, but also you look at the team in Dallas, and if you're skating with a guy like Jamie Benn, you expect more from his center.
Yeah, and 43% of their 209 goals this year, and talking about Dallas, came from that top line. So they've got to get deeper scoring production. But you know what? I think Ben Bishop's going to have a great series. Nashville has had a tough time scoring the puck at times, and I like the Stars to win this series in 7 games. I'm going to go out on a limb right now and take Dallas, the hot team. Tyler Seguin tallied 80 points for the first time since 2013. I like Dallas to stay hot and win this series. You're looking at me funny, Dylan.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I really don't agree with you. I have a prediction about Nashville that I have them going pretty far.
Oh, a little tease. Little tease.
Yeah.
But for Nashville, you look at their center depth. Arvids, Turris, Johansson, Bonino down the middle is incredible.
Yeah.
The scariest team is one that does not have anything to lose.
Wayne Simmons.
But staying in the Central Division, the Winnipeg Jets will meet the St. Louis Blues, each tallying 99 points on the season. Who has the advantage in this series? It's going to be a tight one.
Yeah. I personally am going with St. Louis in this one. I'm all aboard the Jordan Binnington train. I'm 100%.
Stuck
100%
in the St.
with him.
Binnington. Renaming the show.
I like that. I'm on board with that.
Is that a Jets sigh over there?
No, I'll take St. Louis. That was a side to your horrendous attempt of a joke.
I thought it was decent.
But I like the
I've said
Jets.
worse.
I like the Blues, I should say. Patrick Laine was supposed to crack 50 goals this year. He had 5 after the All-Star break. I mean, he's been really just playing poorly. He did have a goal tonight, but you look at the way he's been playing, and the guy you add is Kevin Hayes. Excuse me. I don't think he can really contribute enough to put a team like the Jets over the top, especially when Connor Hellebuyck has not been great this year.
Yeah, Hellebuyck, like you said, has regressed a little bit since last year, which was a year where he was really almost a brick wall at times. But Binnington, I think, if he can have a good series, I like the Blues. And, you know, all the talk about Vlad Tarasenko, he's kind of gotten back under his feet since the injury. But Ryan O'Reilly, I think, could be a huge X factor. We're talking about one of the best two-way players in the NHL, and I really like O'Reilly.
Yeah, one thing I do question in the St. Louis team is their center depth. Aside from Ryan O'Reilly, you have Oscar Sundqvist as your second-line center, Tyler Bozak as your third, who's solid, and Ivan Barbashev as your fourth-line center. Sundqvist only has 31 points on that second-line role, but you look at this top line, and it's just so dynamic with a guy like Braden Shen.
Yeah, it's interesting in the West because I think both these teams, their goaltenders could take them to a Western Conference Finals appearance or even to the Stanley Cup, but it really depends on who's going to step up between the two young goaltenders. And I just saw a smile on Matt's face.
I've got some breaking news. Josh Bailey scores in overtime. Islanders win 4-3 in the first game. So home ice advantage, playing big for the Islanders.
Congratulations to the Islanders. But moving up the ladder to one of the more intriguing matchups of the first round, it's two teams that have slipped a bit entering the postseason. Last season, Western Conference champion Golden Knights and the San Jose Sharks. What will be the biggest X factor in this series?
Martin Jones.
Martin Jones, yeah.
Don't sound so excited about it.
Yeah, well, this is the Sharks team that after they got Erik Karlsson, everybody was all in. This is the Stanley Cup favorite. This is a team, and it hasn't really happened for them, and that's because their goaltending has not been good. Martin Jones, .896 save percentage. That's just not even close to good enough. Especially, you got Brent Burns, you got Erik Karlsson. They have a good defense. There's no excuse for him to be playing the way he is. He needs to play better, and if he doesn't, they're not.
See, I got a little bit of a hot take. I think this Erik Karlsson experiment kind of fails because they're both such a similar player in Burns and Karlsson that they're not as great in their defensive zone as you expect a top guy maybe like Doughty. You know, Brett Burns was a forward to start his career, and Erik Karlsson playing with Brandon Dillon, he's not an elite defenseman like a guy like Marc-Edouard Vlasic who Burns can play with. So when Karlsson's taking these risks, he has no one really to back him up. And you look at San Jose, touching on their goaltending, they have the worst save percentage in the NHL. In all of the NHL. And I mean, the Sabres play in the NHL.
Okay, come on. But really, I think the Sharks have the talent to make a cup run, but like you said, it's going to be Martin Jones, and I think Marc-Andre Fleury is the advantage when it comes to goaltending. I just have this gut feeling, and sometimes that's all you need, that the Sharks are going to kind of piece it all together. Both these teams have been struggling down the stretch in the regular season, so someone's got to step up.
I do have the Sharks in the series just because I think the pure star power that they have is going to be enough to get them places, but I don't think they're going to make it serious.
But I think Vegas has some star power that they didn't have last year. You've got Max Pacioretty, you've got Paul Stastny, and Mark Stone on your second line. Those are all guys that we've seen in All-Star jerseys before.
I just mean in terms of defensively. I just think,
defensively they're much
Vegas
better, but I think
defenses.
defensively, I think the Vegas is just more steady.
Right.
That's fair.
And that game will start at 10:30 p.m. tonight on the East Coast if you guys are watching. But last but certainly not least, we have the best of the West, the Calgary Flames as they take on the Colorado Avalanche, who secured the final Western Conference playoff spot. Do the Avs have enough in the tank to knock off the Flames?
You know, I've got a hot take here. I got Colorado in 6. I look at this team in Calgary, and I say, yes, they're the second best team in the NHL. But that's regular season, and Calgary does not translate well in playoff success. The last 2 playoff appearances they've had, they've been really just manhandled by a team like Anaheim. They're the lightest team in this postseason at 198 pounds. And those guys like Johnny Gaudreau don't translate well when you're playing bigger, more physical guys. And I think that a team like Colorado is the 7th heaviest team in the NHL, so they kind of translate that. And also, you look at their goaltending in Calgary, David Rittich, a .261 goals against, or Mike Smith with an .898 save percentage. I don't trust either of them.
Well, on the other hand, I mean, when I look at Colorado's forwards lines, I just don't see really anything to be excited about. Mikko Rantanen's still out. And I just don't really see a lot to be excited about. You know, Matt Calvert's on the 3rd line. Matt Nieto's on the 3rd line. I mean, I just don't really
I think they're going to muck it up a little bit and kind of win that way.
I don't know. I like the Flames in 6, but we'll have to see. That concludes our Western Conference preview. When we come back, we have a special Stuck in the Sin Bin playoff draft. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Stuck in the Sin Bin on WTOP 10.
We believe in patriotism. We believe in our country. For 100 years, veterans have been impacting our nation through the American Legion. Learn more at legion.org/webelieve.
It's back and better than ever. One student can win up to $25 in cash. All on Oswego's favorite game show, Spin to Win! Every Sunday night at 9, only on WTOP 10 TV.
Welcome back to Stuck in the Sin Bin. With the NHL playoffs beginning, the guys and I decided it would be fun to have a bit of a fantasy draft of our own. We've decided to take a few playoff teams and add a non-playoff player to their roster to make them better in an area where they've struggled this year. Without further ado, we'll have Matt walk to the podium and make his first selection.
So I will.
As you hear the boos ring out for
I'm not Gary
Chris here.
Bettman. Come on. Anyway, I'd like to thank the WTOP crew and the fine city of Oswego for having this draft. And with the first pick in the playoff push draft, the San Jose Sharks select goaltender Carey Price. And you know, Carey Price, the former Hart and Vezina Trophy winner, and Martin Jones, as we touched on, has the 4th worst save percentage among qualified goaltenders, and the next worst in terms of starters in the NHL playoffs would be Semyon Varlamov at 20th worst. And I just think it's a good pick, and a guy like him can really carry this team far.
Yeah, absolutely. He totally transforms the makeup of a team and takes a team like that from fringe to the cup.
Yeah, we talked about Martin Jones being the X factor for the Sharks. How about Carey Price becoming the X factor for the Sharks?
Seriously.
That would be lethal. As it's now time for me to make my way to the podium as the Nashville Predators are on the clock. And with the second pick of the playoff push draft, the Nashville Predators select center Claude Giroux.
Yeah.
Good pick, good pick. You talk about Ryan Johansson, obviously their top line center, 64 points, 50 of those came off assists, so you can't really hate on that, but they could use another offensive piece, and I think Giroux slides in nicely there. Last season, the Jets really took advantage of the Predators offensively, and Giroux, 85 points this season, seems like the perfect fit for a team that needs another offensive powerhouse.
Yeah, I really like a pick like this because you look at a guy like Giroux, he can play wing or center, and he's just a really talented guy. He's a point-per-game caliber guy and really a 200-foot game kind of guy. Can play defensively just as well as offensively.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now Dylan will make his way over to the podium because another Western Conference team is on the clock. It's the Dallas Stars here on Stuck in the Sin Bin's draft.
Yeah, so the Dallas Stars are happy to select left wing Jonathan Huberdeau. Thank you. Thank you. Give myself a round of applause. I was pretty pumped I came up with this one this morning. But it gives them, I mean, we said earlier, Tyler Seguin's left winger is Jason Dickinson.
Who?
Exactly. And we used that joke twice, but it was worth it because I thought it was good. But it gives you a legit top six. Obviously, you still have Rope Hines as your second line center, but he's playing with Zuccarello and Ben, so they could work something out there. But it gives you enough guys, star power up front to maybe legitimately hang with Nashville.
Yeah, I like the pick. You look at a guy like Huberdeau, maybe a guy like Barkov, his teammate as well. Both of them have over 90 points this season.
Yeah, I agree. They could use that another piece as Matt's going to make his way back to the podium as we begin the second and final round. I hope he does get booed this time.
Again?
As the Toronto Maple Leafs are on the clock. That suit screams Toronto Maple Leafs.
Toronto Maple Leafs love to select hometown boy Drew Doughty.
Yeah!
And you know, the Leafs, we love our hometown boys, and this is one of the best from Ontario. Good Canadian boy, if you will. Plays 30 minutes a night, especially in the postseason, and really would probably be one of the best defensemen in this postseason, and especially on the Leafs.
Yeah, I mean, the Leafs, obviously, they need that defender, and Doughty fits in nicely. Like you said, he's a good old hometown boy. Will fit in nicely with JT there in Toronto.
Sorry, who?
Yeah, JT in Toronto. As I make my way back to the podium, the Calgary Flames, the best of the West in the regular season, are on the clock. With the 5th pick in the NHL playoff push draft, the Calgary Flames select goaltender John Gibson. That's right. This deserves a standing ovation. This would be an amazing pick for the Calgary Flames. They need that goaltending help. Gibson is only 25 years old, career .921 save percentage, 2.42 goals against average, and he already has 26 playoff games under his belt at such a young age. I think that would be huge for the Flames. He could really carry them to the cup if he were to be drafted by them.
Yeah, I love the pick. You look at him, he's a Vezina caliber guy, and the biggest weakness for this Calgary Flames team is, in fact, their goaltending by a wide margin. I mean, it's not good. It was up there with Martin Jones.
Basically have two mediocre options.
And they were good to start the season, but really fell off. I think Smith was an all-star, if not this year, last year.
And the Colorado Avalanche are last on the clock. It'll be Mr. Irrelevant, if you will. The Flames and the Avalanche going up against each other, so this will have to counter that move.
Yeah, well, the Avs are going to counter it with defenseman Ryan Suter.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks.
Solid.
Thank you. Thank you. It gives Colorado, a power play defenseman. He's a guy you can put on the top line with, Eric Johnson. You can put him with Girard. They got Tyson Barrie, so it gives you, 2 pairs of legitimate, good, above-average NHL defensemen. And then you force that third pair.
Sorry to interrupt you, Dylan. But look at that. He's happy to be drafted.
That's more important than whenever
He's just happy to be here.
Happy to be here.
But in all seriousness, it gives Colorado a legit D-core that could solidify a playoff team in front of a goaltender like Varlamov or Grubauer.
Yeah, you talk about a guy like Doughty, Suter, just the same, can play 30 minutes a night, defensive defenseman, and you saw what he did in the postseason with Minnesota. He can bring that to a team like the Avalanche.
That's right, and we're now with the episode winding down. We'll take a look at our playoff brackets, and we're going to start with Matt's playoff bracket. So, Matt, what are we looking at here?
Yeah, and you'll look here. I do have the Islanders winning the first round in 7 games, and they're going to get taken down by the Capitals. I think the Capitals are just too good. They've been there before. And the Lightning upset in the second round by the Boston Bruins, who roll their way to the Stanley Cup. And I just think the Bruins are such a good team, and so rarely do you see a President's Trophy type of team win the Cup. I think the last time that someone did that was back in, I think, 08, if not even earlier. I know one of the last times was the 94 Rangers. And then on the West, I've got Nashville. It's their year. I talked about the Capitals' year last year, but this year it's the Nashville's year. And I have Vegas sliding all the way in there because I think they have the second best goaltender in the Western Conference, and I'm riding the hot hand with Marc-Andre Fleury.
All right, now we're going to take a look at my bracket, which I always deem my busted bracket because, the playoffs just started, but it's already busted. But take a look here. Some hot takes. I have San Jose coming out of the West. I think that they catch fire at the right time. And we're talking about, in my opinion, the most talented roster in the Western Conference. Some upsets down there, as you see Dallas and St. Louis both advancing St. Louis all the way to the Western Conference Finals. I also like Boston to take Tampa Bay and also take the Cup all the way home. That will be a championship for the Patriots and the Bruins and the Red Sox. So Boston wins once again, and now we're going to turn it over to Dylan's bracket.
Yeah, unlike Luke's bracket, mine's going to be 100% correct, so just mark that down right now. We got Tampa Bay. I think they're going to go all the way this year. I know it's kind of a with-the-grain pick because of how far ahead they finish of everybody else, but they're the best team. I think they'll finish it off. Nashville, I think defensively, they're a neck ahead of everybody else in the West, so I think they easily get out of there.
And that is all the time we have for this week's playoff preview here on Stuck in the Sin Bin. For Dylan McGlynn and Matt Watling, I'm Luke Owens saying, happy playoffs, hockey fans. We'll see you next week.
Oh.
The second I got on the campus, I knew Oswego was the place to go.
There's a place for everybody at Oswego.
This school just opens the world to you. Have the opportunity to explore and to learn so many different things, not only about yourself, but the people around you and the world.
It definitely is about the student. I felt it to be very about me.
Now that I'm here, I can't imagine myself anywhere else.
Everybody can make something because I think everyone has a spark of creativity, and the reason that I have to keep making is because I don't think my life would be as fulfilling without it. If you make things yourself, that means you're not cowering in fear. You're out there taking chances. That, I think, is my way of saying I love you to the world. All right, now I want to hear why you make.
Share your own Why I Make story today. Visit whyimake.org.
David Richey. I mean, they were. Do you think Bryce Harper, Tommy John survivor, Nathan Eovaldi?